So far, our series on the classical styles of lightsaber combat has covered 5 of the 7 forms. The first 3 were ancient, the forms that define the basics of lightsaber combat, while Form 4 and Form 5 were a bit more advanced, incorporating elements of the older forms in complex ways. Each of the first 5 forms had strengths and weaknesses and was distinct from the others. Form 6, however, was different. This form, known as Niman, was best described as a hybridization of all 5 prior forms, incorporating elements of each as well as influences from more exotic non-lightsaber combat forms. This made it the least distinctive of the 7 forms, a combat style lacking in both great strengths and great weaknesses. But at the same time, it was perhaps the most fascinating style of lightsaber combat. In this video, we'll be exploring what made it so unique.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Niman got its name from a sword fighting style developed by the Royal Macheteros, the bodyguards of the planet Kashyyy's ruling dynasty. This elaborate and deadly fighting technique centered around the use of dual blades, promoting balance, precision, and speed. 24,500 years before the Battle of Yavin, the Niman style was adopted by the Legends of Leto, a sect of Dark Jedi schismatics led by the renunciate Zendor. The Legions of Leto were vanquished by the Jedi Order, but their use of Niman brought the style to the Jedi's attention, and after the war with Zendor, many Jedi began using Niman. For nearly 20,000 years, Jedi swordmasters used Niman to deadly effect, with some continuing to use it long after lightsabers replaced the Force-enhanced swords used in Zendor's day. The persistence of this unique combat style led to its incorporation into the 6th form of lightsaber combat, which was named, appropriately, Niman. This lightsaber form was likely developed shortly after the Great Hyperspace War of 5000 BBY, following which the Jedi switched from power pack dependent proto-sabers to modern lightsabers. The switch to conventional lightsabers caused a number of changes for lightsaber combat, opening the door to things such as throwing lightsabers and dual wielding. Niman was designed to accommodate exactly those sorts of maneuvers, building on its Kashyyyy origins to allow for more efficient dual blade action. On top of classical Niman and newer lightsaber techniques, Form 6 incorporated elements of all the prior lightsaber forms, except for Kashyyyy. It adopted the power blows of Form 5, the fast-paced action of Form 4, the defensive motions of Form 3, and the broad strokes of Form 1, creating a form that was largely without strengths, weaknesses, or identity. It was designed to accommodate the use of dual blades and more unconventional lightsaber variants, and emphasized offensive uses of the Force in combat, allowing for quick Force pushes or pulls without interrupting the blade work. All told, Niman was an incredibly balanced combat style.
A blending of younger forms, and all of them in moderation. In the blending, much of the individuality is lost, but the strengths are spread evenly, and there is little weakness in it. Its great strength is the way it allows the Force to flow through you, revitalizing one, even in the middle of combat.
Also known as the Way of the Rancor, the Moderation form, and the Diplomats form, Niman had a much more relaxed focus on blade work than any of the other styles. In Niman, the exact movements of combat weren't what was important, but rather maintaining balance and moderation. This meant that Niman, in its most basic form, was the easiest lightsaber form to get the hang of, making it ideal for Jedi who devoted a relatively small portion of their studies to combat. Properly mastering Niman was much harder though. Sin Dralik, the Jedi Order's battle master during the Clone Wars, estimated that it took over a decade of study to truly master the form. To make the most of Niman, one had to understand the manifold elements of the form without letting any of them feature too prominently in their blade work. Niman masters had to learn how to create a strong defense without sacrificing offense, how to be quick and mobile without sacrificing stability and resilience. This balancing act was what made Form 6 so ideal for dual blades or saber staffs. The use of multiple blades, a technique the Jedi called Jarkai, wasn't exclusive to Niman and could be incorporated into any form. Famed Jarkai duelist Asajj Ventress, for example, was a Makashi stylist, while Darth Maul preferred the Geo variant of Form 7. However, Niman made Jarkai easy to master and was part of how most Jedi learned to use dual blades. Niman masters also had to balance the various aspects of lightsaber combat with other combat techniques, especially the use of the Force. Many lightsaber forms relied on the Force in some way. We've already discussed how Form 3 relied on Force-based precognition to form an impermeable defense, how Ataru practitioners used the Force to enhance their mobility, and how Jiemso encouraged the use of the Force to reinforce power blows. But Niman was the only lightsaber form that made active use of more direct, telekinetic applications of the Force. While other lightsaber forms focused solely on the use of the blade to their detriment, Niman stylists knew the Force could be just as effective a weapon as any lightsaber. Jedi practicing Form 6 would use the Force to contain and restrict their opponents, while Sith practicing the form could telekinetically crush their enemies without breaking the rhythm of their blade work. Two common Niman moves were Draw Closer and Pushing Slash, moves that, in true Form 6 style, were essentially opposites. Draw Closer involved telekinetically pulling opponents into the path of one's lightsaber, while Pushing Slash involved scoring a hit on an opponent and then force pushing them out of the fight. Earlier, we described Niman as a form without strengths or weaknesses, a jack of all trades, master of none. Many characters in universe echoed that sentiment, but in truth, Niman did have one unique strength. It was a blank slate, a combat style with no identity of its own, and this allowed users to project their own identities onto the form. Form 6 was a conduit, reflecting the sensibilities and attitudes of its users. Niman allowed its masters to utilize their strengths to the fullest. What they got out of the form was what they put into it. By the time of the Clone Wars, Niman was quite popular among the Jedi, but it had few masters. Most of the Jedi who focused on Niman were consulars, Jedi who preferred meditation, diplomacy, and academic work to lightsaber combat. In their hands, Niman was passive and reserved, with such Jedi using their lightsabers mostly to guard against distractions where they prioritized the use of the Force. This style of Niman wasn't suited for open combat, but it was highly effective in situations where de-escalation and a peaceful resolution were of paramount importance. But Jedi consulars weren't the only ones to use Niman. Form 6 was actually the favored style of two of the galaxy's most notorious Sith Lords, Exar Kun and Darth Revan. In Revan's hands, Niman could be anything. In lightsaber duels, the enigmatic Dark Lord would put on a stunning display of acrobatics and aggression in one moment and adopt an unmoving, unyielding defense in the next, rapidly adapting his style to match the situation. 4,000 years after Revan, General Grievous used Niman much to the same way. Exar Kun, meanwhile, took Niman and turned it into an outlet for his raw power. Kun was one of the greatest Sith Lords of all time. Even as a Jedi, he was aggressive and unrelenting in lightsaber combat. Through study of Niman, he became a master of Jarkai, which served him well after he built the galaxy's first double-bladed lightsaber. One would think that Exar Kun's aggression would have been better channeled into Ataru or Jiemso, but Niman gave Kun an outlet for his power without sacrificing defense, making him nigh invincible in the heat of combat. After he became the Dark Lord of the Sith, no one ever defeated him in lightsaber combat. Even the legendary Jedi weapons master, Vodo Siosk Bask, who had trained Kun, perished when he challenged the Dark Lord. Niman was a mirror. For those Jedi who preferred to avoid combat, it served as a crutch. For the truly gifted masters of the form, it amplified all of their strengths. In the right duelist's hands, it was one of the most powerful lightsaber forms in use, second only to Form 7, which we'll be discussing next week. But what do you think? What are your thoughts on Niman? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments section below, and as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next week.